Hey guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Land Rover channel, and welcome to my garden. You might be wondering why am I in the garden? Because in front of me just here, if I turn around you'll see it, is the tub. And we've got the bulkhead out and it's all painted and everything now. I had a bit of an issue with dust. I opened the garage door and a load of dust flew in and I forgot to wet the floor down and there's dust in the paint, but hey, it's got a big rubber cover to go over it. So let me turn the camera around and show you what we've done, and then we'll get in the garage and show you what I'm going to do next. And there we go. So you can see Mr. Mustang over there. And we've got the Land Rover here. This is what I did to the cappings. So you can see them there. So they're all nice and smoothed out. So we got rid of that. Remember that big step that was there? We got rid of that. And it's out here now getting wet and bugs on it and stuff. You can see a ladybird down here. Having a good look. You can see the repair I did here where I cut the bulkhead out. Did all the riveting, all the seam sealers all gone in nice, and all along here, as you can see down in here, we got, I don't know if you can pick it up in the light, we got dust in the paint, but I've got a big rubber mat that goes in the floor that comes up to here and up to the edge here, so I'm not really that worried about it. But I had to paint all inside the tub anyway, as I explained before. So there we go. So I'm happy with that. That's all sealed and done and ready to go back on. But I want to get the bulkhead on before I get the tub on, because I used the uprights in the chassis that bolt down to here. I use those uprights as my datum for positioning the bulkhead correctly, so I need to get the bulkhead back on before I do this, but I haven't painted the bulkhead yet, so I'm going to go in the garage and show you what we're up to now. Bulkhead up on the lift, as you can see, and all rubbed down and flattened out and got rid of the bits of rust and stuff and all done around the side. What I intend to do is spray it sort of here and here, but not down the sides, and then if there is a colour difference it won't notice, because here it won't notice against the bonnet because it's at right angles. Sorry, here it won't notice because we're at right angles. There it won't notice as you go around the corner. But if I do paint this and it's slightly out with the doors, then it'll look awful. So I'm not going to paint down the sides. I'm just going to let the paint blow onto the sides and then I'll polish it out after. But there we go. So the inside of the bulkhead, as you can see, the mess that Land Rover made of it, and they don't paint it. It's just like primary. So I'm going to paint it or get a nice coat of green paint on there. You can see I've already done inside the tunnel, nice coat of paint in there. It's very typical, look at that. Gorgeous, yeah, lots of reflection and everything, really nice. And then I go and do the tub and it comes out a mess. So, bloody sod floor. So I've wetted the garage floor down this time and blown this off and vacuumed it and blown it again. It'll still find some dust to blow out somewhere. But I intend to do that other side where it matters last. So wish me luck. I'll get it painted and then I'll come back and show you how it looks when it's dry. There we go then guys, all done. This is about 3 or 4 days later now. All painted, all nice and shiny. It's got some bits of dust in it, I'll show you in a minute, but I'll leave that for a couple of weeks until the paint's gone nice and solid and then polish that out. But no, overall happy with how it's come out. So now we've got to go and have a look at it, and then we're going to get some Waxoyl into it, and I'll show you all the little nooks and crannies that I found that you may not know about if you've got one of these Pumas, and you might want to get some Waxoyl in there or do something, because mine had started to rust as we saw before up at the top corners. So I'll show you where the pitfalls are, where the traps are, and where to look for the water leaks. So let's get and have a look at this paint, and then we'll get some Waxoyl done. As you can see, I've got some nice gloss in the paint, plenty of reflections and that going on. As you can see when you look along it, you can see how terrible the Land Rover body panels are. Look at all the dents and bloody spot welds and God knows what. Even that's not straight there. Look. So but anyway, at least it's got paint all over now, which is more than it had before. So we've got paint all over the bulkhead, all down under here, all down in those little footwells and that, all down in the transmission tunnel. It's all painted, all up here. So it's all done. And as you can see, if I can find some, there are a couple of bits of dust in the paint. Something I can feel there. Yeah, you can just see it there. We'll just polish that out. I mean, if it needs to be done, we'll polish it out. But overall, I think it's come out quite well for, you know, sprayed in the garage. But basically, there's a few areas we need to look at, and something you need to be really concerned about is up here along this top edge. You can see here we've got this panel is overlapping this panel, and it's spot welded, and there's no sealant or anything in there. So any water that leaks through your windscreen seal or goes in from the side or whatever. This is looking on the top of the bulkhead now. Gets into that joint, it's going to capillary into that joint and sit there and rust. And I believe, I can't remember where it was, but I've seen one of these absolutely rotted out in this area here. Mine had all started to go rusty here where it was leaking around the windscreen clamp. But basically what I've done is I rubbed all this down, took all the crappy welds off, all the bits of flash that was sticking out everywhere. I've put sealant in there, and then given it about 4 coats of paint, so it's really sealed in there well. It's had primer as well, because basically what's going to happen, the water's going to get in there, it's going to capillary, as I say, and then it's going to run through. Now when you look at the Pumas, they're different because obviously they don't have the dash vents, but in here you can see that this panel here that I'm touching, ignore the paint on the inside, I've just literally blown it over because it's never going to be seen again. But basically this panel here, that is the outside, and then this is the inner box section here. Let me come back a bit so you can see what we're looking at. So you can see that this here is the outer skin, and these are the inner box sections. So you've got all this area here for moisture to build up in around here. That could all run down and then run into your truck. Obviously you've got the leaks and concern around these bolt holes here. But basically what we need to do is get this channel up here, this channel across the top. We need to get that full of Waxoyl, and I want to make sure I get it all in here as well and down the ends. Now it was all done the day I bought it. I brought it home and Waxoyled it. All this in here will still have wax. You can see the green paint's picked up on it, but there's wax in there already. But I'm going to do it all again, spray it all in there, probably lay it down flat, and then get it all done again. So let me get it all moved around, and then we can show you how I do it. One more thing, guys, if you remember, I did these holes here. I drilled these holes here, 1, 2, 3, because they go inside these channels under here in the floor, these raised stiffeners in the floor. Okay, so this is what you can see when you look up underneath. And the problem is, water and condensation gets in there because there's 2 sheets of metal. You can see this is the outer sheet, and then this is the inner sheet here. And you can see you've got a cavity in there, and moisture that can build up in there. And just stay there. It's got nowhere to go, and it'll find its way out, and it'll rust its way through. So that's normally what happens. That's why the footwells get rotted out. So what I've done is drilled these holes in a position so I can get the Waxoyl across and up and down the 3 ribs, and also I've sealed across here so that moisture can't get up under, and also the Waxoyl won't run out underneath the carpet and ruin it, or underneath the rubber mat, should I say. But basically all this is sealed in the factory, but this here isn't. So it's worth looking at, really worth looking at. Okay, so we're all set up now with the Waxoyl and everything. This has been sat in a hot sink of hot water for about an hour, 3/4 of an hour. So you could hear, when you shake it, you should hear it like sort of thick gloss paint. You really don't want it too thick or it won't come out. And when I've got this gun here, this is like, you've seen this before. I got this from Amazon for £58, I think. It's worth shopping around because I've seen the same thing for like 120. And then I've got a glass jar that I keep my nozzle in. This nozzle here I actually made because the one that came with it originally just broke off. So I've made this from a piece of stainless, and it's much better now, it's much stronger. And then basically I've just got a glass jar here, and I can just check that I've got a good mist coming off. I don't think you can see through the jar. If I just do it briefly in the air, you can see we've got a good mist coming out. So that's cool. So what we can do now is go over to the bulkhead and start to get some in there. We've also got this one here, which we could use to get into box sections and stuff where you can't get that in if you've got too tight a corner, like in the floor, in the footwells. I'll be using that in there. So let's go over to the bulkhead and have a look at what we're going to do. Okay, so the first thing we can do is these uprights. So what I do is I look at the lance and I check first that the lance is going to be long enough. So even if we can get right to the top, this is going to be long enough. So I'm going to put this up in here, up through the bottom. No, I'm not. I'm going to go through that hole. And up through here. Okay, and I can see the pipe through the holes. Make sure it doesn't come out anywhere because you want it to stay in that box section. And you also want to make sure that because it's coiled up, it always wants to catch on things. So make sure it doesn't catch on anything and turn it accordingly. Okay, it doesn't want to play ball here, so I'm going to have to make it go around that corner. This is what I said about knowing the length, because I know that because I've got all this hanging out here, I know that it's not in all the way. So what I have to do is go through this corner to do the top because it doesn't want to go past here. So I know that I'm past this hole, so I can attach the gun, which is a simple push fit in there, and then I can just pull this back. There we go. I know I've got Waxoyl now all the way in there. If it has missed a couple of areas, it creeps, so don't worry about it. Now this area here, I know I need to get it up to where my thumb is now. So now I'm in the top. Go up in through here. And right at the top, just put it back. And then while I'm in there, I'm going to make sure I get round the corners in the top. Make sure it's everywhere, because you know this is where they rust first. And just to be sure, I'm going to put some more in here. Just down in here. So there we go. And I know now that this corner of the bulkhead is completely filled. Now, this here, you can't get over it. There's a wall about here. So we filled up that box there, but we haven't got across here. So we've got to somehow get into there. So again, we can take this tube off. Come into this hole here. Again, I know I need to get up to my thumb. So I push that in there. And I know that I'm in there now, all the way to the end. So again, reconnect it. I've got quite a big open cavity in here. All of this here is all open. So we need to make sure we get over into this corner. Okay, so get the lamps in there, put some rain. You can't put too much in, all that happens is it'll run out and make a mess, so don't do it on a tarmac drive. But you see, we now get over the other way. So again, take the lamps out. And I know to get halfway over, I need to be up to my thumb here. So we don't have any holes down there to get in by the look of it. So I'm going to get over as far as I can across here. To be fair, in the middle, as long as we've got something in there, it'll be okay, because as we all know, bulkheads don't generally rust from the middle out, they rust from the outside edges in. And I'm going to try and get in here and above that slot if I can. Again, we're in. Push it over as far as I can get. It's going all the way back, all the way to the other side, which is cool. Make sure you don't damage the paint. There we go. Now, I'm going to move the camera and I'm going to do this other edge. Okay, so some of you may be thinking, why don't I do this from the inside? Basically because I don't want to lean it over on its forward face, because if the paint is still slightly soft, it's been under about 3-4 days, it may leave a mark on it. So that's why I'm doing it this way around. So I'll be extra careful not to scratch the paint. And why am I doing this off the vehicle? Because I don't want Waxoyl running over the back of the engine and everything. Why am I doing it now? Because I can have it on its side rather than have it vertical. It makes it much easier to do those uprights and everything. So hopefully that's your questions answered. Now this rail across the top here is prone to rusting. This is going to be the most prone area, so we need to make sure we really get some Waxoyl in there. So because of this, there's some shapes and ledges and everything in here. So we're going to feed this in. Now, as I say, I'm going to mark with my thumb to get up to this hole here. I'm going to have to go that far. Okay, so I'll get up to my thumb. So again, because it's a coil, it wants to catch on everything all the time. There we go. I know it's up to the end now. So I can put that back in the gun. And then hang around at the end. I'm hanging around up here because of all this area here to deal with. Go. I can take it out again, go in this way. So that'll get me. I'm only really worried about getting past this hole here, so. Can I get in there? Yes, it's a bit of luck. Vertical now, as you can see, done all that round, just did the other side. You can see the size of this tub here. It is like, it must be a litre, at least 2 litres. And I've gone through one of these already, so you can tell how much is going in there. I've changed over to this angled lance now. You'll see how this works, and we can really make sure that we get into the nooks and crannies and everything. We can put this in, you see, and we can turn it and spray it all along. And like I say, this stuff is amazing. It crawls. So if you put a big dollop of it here and come back tomorrow, it will spread, and then it would spread literally across the whole surface. It's amazing stuff, and really, really good. So in there. Yeah, come up there, and we can do the same. We'll do the same over here. This area up here in particular, this is a rust point, so all around there's there's tubes captively welded in there, so we get around, we spray in and up, get all around them. That's a really good idea to really load that area up. In here, that box is already done. We've been across that like to death, so don't need to worry about that too much. This area here, you've got to be careful not to go through holes where there's no skin, because all you're going to do is cover the other side. I'm not sure if I'm on camera now with this one, but get this one out if I can. Come on out. Get into there. To this corner here, you can see it coming out of there like when you spray it. And then I can't turn it 360, so I'm going to have to come out and go back in that way. And then into this one here is really important, up around those tubes. I'm going to spray some into there. Just to make sure it's in those seams, and also in here. Right, so down here in the footwells, again using this angled lance, that's why I drilled these holes the way I did. So I'm going to go in and go that way. So I'm going to spray it all in there. Go that way. Down, and then turn it, go in that way and go up. And then this one, go that way, go down, and go up. And just for fun, we'll get some more. And there we go. I've bought some grommets to go in those holes so we can plug them up. So I'll get the other side done exactly the same, and that'll be that. Other thing to do is in here, like in these little gaps, you can't see, can you? But up here, like I've got the bulkhead facing a long way, I've got you into the light. But up in here, you can see down in here, there's a gap between the sheet metal. So get in there, just get some in there. It'll just help keep anything away. Here's a little trick I've learned. Is something that's worked well. I was fed up with crap getting in the jar all the time. So basically I've made a hole, I've got a new jar, made a hole in the lid, and then my brush lives in the lid, and I can seal it up and it doesn't dry out. I don't get a little crap in there. So it's handy to have a brush with this stuff in, because what I like to do is come along here, like places like this where you've got metal flanges spot welded together. It's a water trap and it's a good place for rust to start. So if you just brush them around there and leave it on there for a day or so, it'll creep in, it'll get underneath it, okay, it'll capillary in, and it'll prevent any rust from building up in that area. And do the same down here, get it all around this flange where water will get down and just capillary and stay wet for days, and then start the rust. So get up under there, get a good dollop of it up in there, just like so. And over here, and as I say, this stuff creeps like mad, and it will get under and it will capillary in, and it will be totally sealed away from any moisture. There you go guys, all the bulkhead's all done. Bulkhead's just here to my side. So what have we done? We've Waxoyled it with Waxoyl. That's nearly that whole can gone now. So that's the chassis, the bulkhead and the tub. We've got the doors and everything to redo again. So that'll be all gone, that'll be 5 litres. And bearing in mind I did it before when it was new, so that's going to be like 10 litres that's gone into it now. I know a lot of people are going to say this stuff isn't as good as other stuff on the market. I've never used anything else. I've never had problems with this. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It also penetrates, it says on here it kills old rust. It does, it penetrates the old rust, gets into it, and just makes the water, just repels the water, so that's what it's doing. And as you've seen with my chassis, I did it the day I bought it home, and there was no rust in that chassis internally whatsoever, like none. The only place there was any was at the very back. We've got that double skin. If you've got a Defender, a TD5 on, there's a double skin on the back of the cross member where it meets the chassis rail. You need to get in there when you Waxoyl your chassis, get in there, somehow get around the corner and get in. That's where it was rusty on mine. So if you remember, I cut them out so I could get inside to do the cross member modifications. If you haven't seen those videos, go have a look. A lot of people like that. If you look at TD5s and Pumas, they always have the end of the cross member always bent in, and I straightened mine out. So it should look much better when the tub goes back on. I'm looking forward to that day. So what have we done? We've used Waxoyl. We sprayed it with this here, as I say. I got this on Amazon. It's a thing called Viltech. It's from Germany. And as I say, I've seen them for, I paid £58 for this one. I got Prime, so I got free delivery. It took about 2 or 3 days for delivery. And I've seen exactly the same thing on Amazon for like 120, I think. So, you know, be careful what you're buying, careful how much money you're spending. You've got this end here, which goes through the 90 degrees, which is really handy. And then you've got this one here, which, as I say, you get something very similar to this with the set. But I actually got mine caught, and when I snagged it, it just broke the end off. So it wasn't very strong at all. So I've made this from a bit of stainless. It's just turned up and then drilled down through the centre, and then a couple of slots in the end and a couple of slots in the sides, you can see, cut at an angle. And the way I did that is with a little Dremel wheel in my little milling machine, and I held this in a vise and then just slowly ground it across. But you get the idea there. You can see the sort of thing, but it sprays the wax. You've seen it while I've been doing it. You can see the mist coming out of other holes. It's just spraying it and turning it into a mist rather than just into one area. So that's the good thing. It's airborne within the box section, so it's just getting everywhere, and that's what you want. So there we go. And the other little trick I say, this is a hot dog jar with the brush in the lid, and then I can use that and keep the lid closed and stop the brush from the end bristles will turn over on themselves. So there we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is start getting this is the really fun bit now. This is the bit I enjoy the most. Start putting all the trim back, and all the little clips for the screws and the blanking grommets and the wiring grommets and all that. Get that all back in the bulkhead, and then we can look at getting the bulkhead back onto the chassis, which is going to be fun on my own. I don't know how I'm going to lift it. I'll have to use the engine crane, but I don't know where I'm going to lift it from. So we shall see. We'll come up with a plan. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.